The fanfic title is What If Hinata Saved Naruto at age 9 and They Became the Dark Rulers of the World Part 2. Hello everyone, this is your friend and I am back with a new fanfic Part 2. I hope you enjoy this fanfic, and if you enjoy this, so don't forget to subscribe my channel. Now let's start the fanfic. You keep pushing me away, yet we've spared for over a month now. I know you feel something for me. Sasuke's voice drawled out. He's cornered me, backing me up against a tree. He rested a hand against the bark right next to my head. He was taller, his shadow engulfing my shorter frame. I turned my head away and cast my gaze off to the side. He placed a hand under my chin to direct my eyes towards him. His face was barely an inch away. I frowned and pushed his hand away. We haven't been sparring. You just keep attacking me after school. All I'm doing is defending myself. I insisted in a huff. Sasuke smirked. He was pressing his body closer and closer to mine. As close as he could get without actually touching me. Is that what you're telling yourself? He was so confident. No, arrogant. It annoyed me. His hot breath was berating against my face. My blush was involuntary. He somehow saw that as a sign to continue his advances. Stop, Sasuke, I whispered under my breath. He pretended like he didn't hear me, his lips getting closer and closer to mine. I've been around girls fawning over me for years now. I know when your body wants something more. Tell me how you really feel. After this, Sasuke dipped his head forward. He was going to kiss me. I panicked. I said stop. I hit him harder than I wanted. Both my hands landed clean on his chest, chakra erupting from my palms. I barely managed not to make my blow lethal. Sasuke slid back on his feet, the boy dropping to one knee and coughing violently. I flared my Byakugan, but not as a threat, I just needed to make sure he was okay. His internal organs were fine. I'd just deflated his lungs a bit, effectively knocking the wind out of him. My entire body was shaking as I watched him. He looked up at me after a moment, still wearing that smug smirk. God, it's like he enjoyed the punishment. A girl after my own heart. Sometimes I think that sentiment is more literal than figurative. Sasuke joked. I held my hands to my heart and bit into my bottom lip. Wordlessly I turned heel and took off into the trees. Thankfully Sasuke didn't follow. I can't do this anymore, Naruto-kun. Please don't make me. I was crying into Naruto's chest. He was shirtless and in the middle of a workout when I frantically sprinted into the clearing. Despite him doing push-ups with a large boulder on his back, I ran straight for him. He immediately noticed my alarm and stood up just as I launched myself towards him. Shish, it's okay, Hinata-chan. Tell me what happened. Quote. I told him, and Naruto's eyes narrowed. Naruto was sweating heavily from his workout. His scent served to calm me. He held me close and rubbed circles in my back. He nodded as I finished my story. All right, my love. It's over now. I'm ready to move forward anyway. I just need you to do one more thing for me. This time I think you'll like it. I looked up at him curiously. Naruto grew a devilish grin. The next day Sasuke followed me after school again. After getting about a mile away from the school, he started to attack me like he usually did. I hope I didn't freak you out too much yesterday. I'll back off for a while. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Sasuke spoke out as he charged me. I turned around and held out a hand. I knew he would stop when he saw my face, and he did. I cast a stern glance towards him. He stopped right in his tracks. Follow me, I stated simply while hopping onto a nearby tree branch. He raised a brow in curiosity but followed along. I stared straight forward as we moved swiftly through the trees. Where are we going? He finally questioned after a few minutes of travel. You'll see, Sasuke. I responded shortly. Sasuke was clearly thrown off by my coldness. He didn't ask any more questions until we arrived at Naruto's clearing. Naruto was waiting for us there, fully dressed. He stood in a casual manner with his hands behind his head carelessly. I walked straight up to Naruto and rose up on my tippy toes to give him a kiss, to Sasuke's great surprise. Heyo, Sasuke. Naruto called out with a lazy wave. Sasuke walked up to us with his gaze narrowed. What is this? Sasuke was clearly not pleased. I leaned against Naruto and rested my head on my emperor's shoulders. Sasuke looked at me in disbelief. You're with the Dobi, Sasuke accused. That made me mad. I frowned but was interrupted by Naruto's playful laughter. Totally. I get to do whatever I want with her. Naruto taunted while reaching down and squeezing my butt. I squeaked in surprise. Even despite knowing that he'd show his dominance in some way, it was still super embarrassing. Sasuke didn't like that one bit. It disappoints me to see you with this weakling. Sasuke spat out. God, he knew how to get under my skin. Before I could respond, Naruto gently moved me out of the way and walked forward. Is that so? Naruto retorted while cocking his head to the side. Sasuke reached for his kunai pouch, glaring heatedly at Naruto. She deserves better. Sasuke insisted in a dark tone. Correction, she deserves the best. Naruto insisted. That made my heart flutter. I rested both my hands against my chest and stayed quiet. Naruto told me he would handle this, so I did nothing to interfere. Then she deserves someone like me. Sasuke snapped back. Naruto chuckled. Alright, enough games. How about this, Sasuke? If you are able to beat me in a fight, then you can have her. Either kill me or make me give up. If you can beat me, then clearly you are better suited at protecting her. Naruto proposed. Sasuke scoffed. You act like she's a thing to be given away. Naruto saw right through him. So you decline my challenge? Sasuke took a kunai from his pouch and prepared to charge. Yay, that's what I thought. Naruto commented. I'll at least prove that you aren't worthy of her. Sasuke said while speeding forward like I'd seen him do dozens of times. Sasuke moved faster than he ever has. It was at this point I realized that Sasuke had been holding back when he fought me. It was fascinating, but still, Naruto was on a totally different level. Sasuke's first attack landed clean. He delivered an axe kick to Naruto's head. Naruto didn't even bother blocking. Sasuke gritted his teeth when Naruto seemed unfazed by the attack. In a skillful maneuver, Sasuke turned his body in the air and landed a punch to Naruto's cheek. Still, Naruto didn't move. In fact, Sasuke winced from the pain of hitting Naruto. Naruto was like a brick wall. Then came the kunai. Sasuke kicked away from Naruto and sent a half dozen towards Naruto. Naruto, in a very lazy fashion, caught each one out of the air. That was just a distraction, however. The next moment a huge plume of fire erupted from Sasuke's mouth and engulfed Naruto's body. I had to stop myself from screaming. I knew Naruto was strong, but to take an attack like that without moving out of the way. I guess I didn't really understand just how strong Naruto was until today. Sasuke froze when seeing his work. After how mad he was, I don't think he truly intended to kill Naruto. His fear was gone a moment later as Naruto calmly walked forward, his entire body on fire. Naruto's clothes were burned away, just leaving the completely and ash-covered form of Naruto. My face was as red as a tomato. I could see everything. I had to look away. Impressive, Sasuke. Truly impressive. Now, let me show you who I am. Naruto stated in a haunting voice. Wah! Gha! Sasuke began before being silenced by a punch to the stomach. My Byakugan was flared in order to better observe the fight, but like usual I still couldn't keep up with Naruto's speed. One moment Naruto was standing a few feet away, the next he was right in front of Sasuke, delivering a crushing fist to the boy's gut. Sasuke went wide-eyed, the boy backing up and holding his stomach. He fell to his knees and spat out blood. Naruto's shadow cast over the boy now. Then Naruto did something that scared even me. He flared his chakra. The area around us trembled as Naruto's body oozed blue energy. Then out of that blue energy came red chakra which lashed out wildly. Sasuke was terrified, and quite frankly, so was I. As soon as that chakra flared, it was gone. Naruto squatted down to eye level with Sasuke. The other boy was hunched over on all fours. What are you? Sasuke spoke in a shaky voice. The future emperor of this world. Naruto replied back without missing a beat. And this is my empress. Quote. Hearing my cue, I scampered over to Naruto and stood meekly by his side. Naruto was very intimidating when he wanted to be. Still, I trusted him completely. He stood up and wrapped an arm around my waist, hugging me to his body with a possessive grip. My face was red as a tomato. I buried my face in his chest, trying to hide my embarrassment. He was still. Rise, Sasuke. Naruto commanded. With shaky knees, Sasuke managed to stand up. I watched the boy out the corner of my eye. I will tell you this once and only once. Don't ever touch what is mine again, in that way. Naruto warned. Sasuke hesitated, looking over towards me. You speak as if she's your property. She is my property. She belongs to me. She's all mine. Naruto growled possessively while tightening his grip around my waist. I thought I was going to faint. God, that was so. Why? I wasn't even fazed by the implications of what he said. I was his and only his. I'd let him do anything he wanted to me. Anything. To hammer home his point, Naruto grabbed my butt again and forced me onto my tippy toes. He then crashed his lips into mine. I squealed and arched my back, completely giving in to his dominance. I could see that even while he kissed me, Naruto had his gaze trained on Sasuke. I looked out the corner of my eye towards the boy and Sasuke was actually looking away. He seemed just as embarrassed as I was. We were still kids after all. Being trained to kill didn't exactly make us used to this kind of stuff. And Naruto was still. Is this why you brought me here? Just to rub it in my face? Sasuke spoke bitterly. Naruto took a moment to indulge in that kiss before finally pulling away. A little string of spit connected our mouths. Naruto licks his lips. I was a swooning mess. I could hardly care about what they were talking about anymore. I just stared up at Naruto as if he were a god. In my eyes he was. As much fun as this is, I had another important matter to discuss. Yay. And what's that? I want to offer you my power. I know you want to grow strong so you can one day get revenge on your brother. If you train under me, then one day you will. Naruto explained. This was new information to me. I was paying attention now, turning to look towards Sasuke as I clung to Naruto's side. Sasuke gritted his teeth. The subject clearly upset him. How do you know about that? Naruto grinned. I have friends in high places. I know a lot of things. I know what Itachi and Danzo did. Danzo? Sasuke questioned, not recognizing the name. Naruto's grin widened. Sasuke hesitated. I could see the wheels turning in his head. What's the cost? Sasuke spoke up after a moment of thought. Your loyalty. Naruto explained. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Loyalty, huh? What do you want from me? Sasuke questioned apprehensively. Naruto shook his head. It's not about what I want, but what she needs. Naruto corrected, turning to me now. Naruto. I was confused. Judging by his face, so was Sasuke. I told you I would be the emperor of this world, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this world to its knees and crush anyone that gets in my way. Naruto proclaimed. Just a few minutes ago I think Sasuke would have laughed if he heard Naruto speak like that. But after witnessing Naruto's power, Sasuke just listened. Hinata will be my empress in the new world I will create. She is strong and will only grow stronger. However, still, I can't guarantee her safety at all times. Even when she becomes so strong that no one except me can challenge her, I will still worry. Naruto's voice was softer now. He looked down at me with a gentle expression. I could see what he was getting at now. That's where you come in, Sasuke. I offer to train you, to make you stronger than you can possibly imagine. Stronger than Itachi, stronger than the Hokage, stronger than anyone but Hinata and I. In exchange you must pledge your loyalty and your life to Hinata. Pledge to always protect her, even when I can't. Naruto proposed. I gasped. So that was his plan. It made sense now. The reason Naruto allowed Sasuke to follow me around for months was so he could grow close to me. Close enough to consider Naruto's offer. I marveled at Naruto's brilliance. Still, Sasuke had yet to agree. I returned my attention to the boy. He was staring me down, clearly conflicted about Naruto's offer. Did you know about this? Sasuke questioned. I shook my head. Not until just now. I stated honestly. He scanned me and must have been satisfied by my answer. After a little more thought, Sasuke nodded. Okay. He stated simply. Hinata, step forward. Naruto ordered. I complied right away, stepping over to Sasuke. I bowed my head as we neared. Naruto began to encircle us, watching us with an intense gaze. Sasuke, kneel. Naruto commanded. Sasuke got down on one knee, bowing his head. Sasuke Uchiha, do you swear to protect Hinata with your life, and give your life for her if need be? Naruto questioned. I do. Naruto nodded. Empress Hinata Uzumaki, do you accept Sasuke into your service? My heart fluttered when Naruto said my name. We weren't officially married, but it was music to my ears. I think Naruto was reading my mind. This little ritual of ours made me wish that I was marrying Naruto right now. But Naruto attaching his last name to mine assured me that I was still his. I do. Sasuke, give Hinata your kunai and raise your hand. Naruto continued to instruct. Sasuke complied without hesitation, reaching into his pouch and twirling a kunai around his finger before presenting it to me. Hinata, take it and cut your name into his palm so he will never forget this oath. Quote. My eyes widened in shock. I looked at Naruto with the mind to protest, but seeing his serious gaze quelled my doubt. I nodded obediently while taking the kunai from Sasuke. Sasuke seemed even more resolute than I. He opened his palm and gave me an affirmative nod. After a moment of hesitation, I took Sasuke's palm and began to stab my name into it. I made sure to draw the kanji for Uzumaki as well. Sasuke gritted his teeth and bowed his head, his other hand balled into a fist to cope with the pain. I felt a bit guilty, but I drew from Sasuke's strength. He was the one that had to endure this, and he did not speak one word of complaint. After I finished, I dropped the kunai. My hands were shaking. Naruto nodded in satisfaction. Now you are forever bound. Never forget your oath, Naruto proclaimed. Sasuke nodded and rose to his feet. He looked at his palm inquisitively before balling his fist and standing in a strong and upright fashion. Naruto moved behind me now, wrapping both arms around my waist. Good. Usually this would be a moment to celebrate, but I actually think that the most appropriate way to celebrate would be to start your training right away. What do you think, Sasuke? Naruto questioned. Sasuke smirked. You read my mind. I was amazed how strong Sasuke was. Even after all that, he regained his cool, cocky attitude almost right away. Good. Sasuke, line up with the Empress. You will be training together from now on. Naruto instructed while swatting me on the butt. I squeaked and jumped, stepping over to Sasuke. He walked to my side as I turned around to face Naruto. Naruto narrowed his eyes at Sasuke. I knew exactly what Naruto was thinking. Sasuke, what do you say when your emperor gives you a command? I spoke up now. Sasuke looked down at me in hesitation for a second. Forgive me, Empress, Sasuke said with a slight bow of his head before turning his attention to Naruto. Yes, Emperor Naruto. Naruto grew a bright smile. Yay, I could get used to that, Naruto stated in a light-hearted manner. I couldn't help giggling. Naruto was so funny. Don't let it go to our head, Sasuke sassed. Yay. Naruto waved a hand dismissively. I was glad Naruto wasn't taking everything too seriously. After Naruto put on a backup pair of clothes, we all trained until the sun went down. Sasuke was absolutely exhausted. I was a lot less tired, having been used to Naruto's training regimen. Holy, Sasuke commented in exasperation while staring up at the sky, splayed out on his back. Naruto laid on his back right next to Sasuke. I was on the other side of Naruto, clinging to my emperor, the side of my head resting on his chest while I looked over to Sasuke. Yay, I remember feeling the same way when I first started training under Naruto-kun. Quote, is it going to be like this every day? Sasuke questioned in disbelief. Yep, it has to be, or else you'll grow too slowly. I can't have a weakling protesting my empress, Naruto declared in a chipper manner. Sasuke smirked, the boy putting his hands behind his head. Good, Sasuke stated approvingly. This day was one to remember. Naruto never failed to amaze me. As long as I was by his side, I felt like nothing could stop us, nothing could tear us apart. He was so smart, so strong. Sometimes I felt a bit dumb in comparison to him, but he wouldn't let me think that way. It was just nice to have someone with as much foresight as Naruto. I felt invincible, untouchable, safe. But the best part was that I actually got to see him. I had a very good dream that night. I usually tell Naruto everything, but in this particular case I think I'll keep this dream to myself. That's the end of the chapter. Please review. I have already written the next chapter. I just need to make sure it is thoroughly edited. It will be out next Sunday. Thanks for sticking with the story and engaging through comments and reviews. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this helps you through these crazy times. I still plan to continue this fanfiction. I have a lot of fun ideas, emo. I hope you enjoyed. Hinata, you are late. I flinched as I heard my father's voice call out from the other room. Him and my little sister Hanabi were already in the dining room eating dinner. I knelt down at the entrance to the dining room and bowed, awaiting permission to enter as was tradition. I'm sorry, father. My training with Naruto went on longer than we thought it would. You waste your breath with useless excuses. Come, father stated sternly. I raised my head and couldn't help looking harshly at my father. He matched my gaze. Hanabi watched silently from the side. I took my place at the opposite end of the dinner mat. Perhaps you should take it up with the emperor. I sassed while picking up a cup of tea. A long silence fell over the room. It was hard to speak to my father that way, but recently I felt invincible. Hanabi looked at me as if I were crazy. She then looked to my father expectantly but seemed disappointed that he didn't immediately snap back. Father, you're going to let her speak to you like that? Hanabi questioned in alarm. Silence, Hanabi. Father barked. Hanabi bowed her head respectfully, though I could see how angry she was. Father picked up a cup of tea and sipped calmly from it. Empress. Father called out to me. I was still getting used to being addressed like that by my father. Somehow it made me regret sassing him. I immediately felt guilty using my position as Naruto's empress to gain power over him. I respect the emperor's desires, however you are still my daughter. Father explained. I began to fidget before bowing my head. I'm sorry, father. Father nodded in approval and we ate like normal. The entire time Hanabi continued to steal harsh glances my way. Hanabi, speak your mind. Father finally called out. I just don't see why we have to deal with this. She acts so disrespectfully and all she gets are words. She should be punished. Hanabi pointed out. I flinched. I could feel my sister's ire towards me. An empress is entitled to certain privileges. Father stated simply. Father was calm. He did give Hanabi permission to talk, so he showed no hostility to her honesty. Hinata can't even beat me in a fight. Empress or not, respect is earned. Hanabi insisted. Hanabi pointed out a noteworthy fact. I still held back in our sparring sessions. I still couldn't find it in my heart to beat her when I knew how father looked at anyone he deemed weak. A look he has given me countless times. Though the way Hanabi looked at me broke my heart. I wanted so badly for us to just be sisters, but she seemed to only see me as a rival. Is that how you truly feel, Hanabi? Father questioned. Hanabi nodded resolutely. It is, father. Father closed his eyes. I could see he was deep in thought. To the dojo. Father ordered. Hanabi quickly rose to her feet. It had been a while since she and I sparred. Naruto was keeping me busy and father understood how strong I was becoming under Naruto's tutelage. I was a bit nervous about father's order, but I didn't protest. Once in the dojo, Hanabi stood in front of me already in her fighting stance. Father watched over us like usual with his hands tucked into his sleeve. Hinata, use 30% of your strength. Father ordered. Hanabi and I looked at father in disbelief. Father, but I sputtered. I wasn't sure father knew what he was asking. Enough, Hinata. She needs to learn. Father insisted. I still held doubt. Hanabi couldn't believe her ears. Father, you don't truly believe Hinata stands a chance against me, do you? Let alone while just using 30% of her strength. Father ignored her, staring sternly at me. I gave a defeated nod. Yes, father. I conceded. I closed my eyes in focus. I prepared my chakra. I had to make sure it was no higher than 30%. If I went even a little bit over, then my attack might kill her. Hanabi was still doubtful. Begin. Father ordered. Hanabi charged immediately, the girl thrusting a palm towards me. It was over in a second. I sidestepped her attack easily and swept out my leg towards her, ducking under her arm and delivering a powerful palm to her heart. Chakra exploded from her back. The hard part of the fight was directing my palm blast in such a way so as to only scathe her organs and knock the wind out of her. Like I did to Sasuke. Still, at 30% power it was hard to control the energy. Hanabi fell over immediately, the girl dropping to her knees and grabbing her chest in pain. Hanabi. I shouted in panic. I hope she was okay. Hinata. Step away from Hanabi. Father called out. I froze, hesitating for a moment before nodding and taking steps back. He moved over to Hanabi. She was struggling to breath. He looked down at her harshly. Hinata has held back for quite some time. All to save you the embarrassment of defeat. You should show her far more respect. Father lectured before turning to me. Yet your restraint is also your weakness. You disrespect your sister's efforts by denying her the experience of defeat. Were it not for the Emperor, your soft heart could spell doom for this family. I turned my gaze away, wrapping my arms around myself. Even in victory, Father always found a way to put me down. Empress. Father addressed me with a respectful bow before turning his back and leaving us alone in the dojo. Hanabi and I maintained an awkward silence while she recovered. I finally walked up and reached out in an attempt to help her up. She slapped my hand away. I don't need your help. She spat. I was on the brink of tears. I'm sorry. That was all I could think of saying. How long? She questioned in an angry tone. How long? I was a bit confused. How long have you been holding back? I was afraid to answer. Since the beginning. She gritted her teeth. You've always been this strong. I shook my head. Not at first. I only became really strong after Naruto-kun started training me. Hanabi finally rose to her feet and crossed her arms. The Emperor, she said with a scoff. I was a bit upset that she said Naruto's title so disrespectfully, but I didn't want to be too combative. Yes, the Emperor. She rolled her eyes. I frowned. I think you should show him a little more respect. Even Father has accepted Naruto-kun as Emperor. I spoke meekly. She turned her back to me. Father has forgotten his Hyuga pride. Hanabi declared. I gasped, placing my hands over my mouth. You can't mean that, Hanabi. Quote. She began to walk away. What if I introduced you? You could see how strong Naruto-kun is. Maybe you can see why Father respects him. I proposed. Hanabi stopped. I could tell she was thinking it over. Also, maybe he can share his power with you. I know you want to lead the clan one day. Well, if you were to grow really strong, then you'd be more than worthy. Hanabi stared me down out of the corner of her eye. All right. The walk to the clearing was especially nerve-wracking today. It took a few days for me to set up the meeting between Naruto and my sister. It seemed that Naruto intentionally made Hanabi wait. I didn't question it. Hanabi moved next to me as we jumped from tree branch to tree branch. I was surprised how fast she was. I don't think I was that fast at her age. Really, the only reason I was stronger than her before meeting Naruto was because I was 2 years older. Even despite being older, I wasn't that much stronger. Well, not until Naruto started training me. By the time we got to the clearing, Naruto was waiting for us. He sat on a boulder. The same gigantic boulder he used for his training. Sasuke stood off to the side leaning against a tree with his hands tucked into his pockets. I walked up and bowed to Naruto. Emperor Naruto-kun, I stated respectfully. Empress. Naruto acknowledged me with a small nod. This seemed really official, like a high court meeting. Hanabi didn't show Naruto the same respect. She walked up next to me with her arms folded, eyeing him challengingly. So you must be the little ball of fire, Hanabi. Quote. Hanabi nodded silently. I hear a great deal about you. And I'm sure you've heard about me, given that your father is one of my most useful and loyal subjects. Naruto still spoke in a carefree manner. He maintained a relaxed position atop the boulder. It kind of served as an impromptu throne. Don't speak about my father that way. He may accept your little game, but I'm not here to indulge your stupid fantasy. Hanabi snapped. I let out an audible gasp. I could see Naruto's gaze growing more serious. Naruto-kun, please, she doesn't know, I began to plead. Naruto raised a hand. I went silent right away. He then did a waving motion and I immediately stepped to the side, leaving Hanabi alone to face Naruto. Naruto stood up from his throne and walked forward towards my sister. It's interesting that you would speak to me in such a disrespectful way. Surely you heard about what I did to your father and the other members of your clan. Naruto pointed out. Hanabi stood strong. I admired her strength even though I feared for her. Father may be afraid of you, but I won't be, even if you are stronger than all of us. I am a Hyuga and I won't bow down to someone who treats me and my clan with such little respect. Naruto stopped in front of her now, looking down with an amused smile. I knew that smile. It was the same smile he gave towards his victims. I was getting more nervous by the second. Your father understands that your personal notions of respect means little to an emperor. In my world, respect is what I say it is. Naruto spoke in an eerily calm voice. Hanabi scoffed. Father is a coward. My heart sunk. Was that what she truly thought? The moment became a lot more tense as Naruto went silent and Hanabi looked up at him defiantly. I could tell something bad was going to happen. I wasn't wrong. Hanabi yelled as Naruto pounced. Naruto was too fast for me to catch every detail. One moment Naruto stood calmly, the next moment Naruto had Hanabi pinned on the ground. Get off me! Hanabi screamed. Naruto ignored her, putting a hand to her throat and squeezing. I could see her hands grabbing desperately at his wrists. Naruto, I pleaded. He sent me an intense look and I immediately backed down, bowing my head submissively. I thought for a moment that Kyuubi might have taken over, but no, Naruto's eyes were still blue. This was my Naruto. He settled his gaze back on Hanabi, who was struggling for breath. Then he did the unspeakable. He ripped off her jacket, exposing her fishnet shirt below. Soon that was torn away as well. Now her budding chest was completely exposed. Naruto. Sasuke spoke up now. Silence. Naruto's powerful, demonic voice boomed. Sasuke gritted his teeth but backed down as well, looking away now. Tears poured from Hanabi's eyes as he yanked her pants down, leaving her in just her panties. You call him a coward, yet look at you. I can smell your fear. Naruto barked. Hanabi's entire body was trembling. She closed her thighs, but Naruto wouldn't have it. With a firm motion, Naruto forced her thighs apart just enough to grab at her panty-covered crotch, groping her roughly. This is the world he fears, the fate he fears for his daughters, for his clan. If you believe yourself stronger than him, then stop me, push me away. Naruto's deep voice growled. Hanabi was a mess, the girl squirming as Naruto's hands rubbed against her nethers. Stop me, Naruto ordered. I can't, Hanabi screamed. Naruto paused now, staring down at her with a narrowed gaze. I finally saw just how terrified she was. Moments ago Hanabi seemed like an immovable mountain, but now she just seemed like a scared little girl. Because that's exactly what she was. Naruto leaned down and breathed huskily against her neck. She turned her head away and continued to cry. I could hear soft whimpers coming from her. Say my name, Naruto whispered. Emperor. What? Emperor Naruto. She squealed. What else? I'm sorry, Emperor Naruto. Hanabi whimpered. Naruto seemed satisfied with that. He backed away, standing up to leave Hanabi whimpering on her back. He then nodded over to me. As soon as I got that signal, I sprinted over to Hanabi and kneeled at her side. She immediately jumped at me, burying her face in my chest and bawling her eyes out. All I could do was hold her close and caress her head like mother used to do for me. Naruto returned to his rocky throne and took a seat. Welp, now that that's out of the way, I expect to see you here first thing in the morning. Naruto called out in a chipper voice. He was back to his carefree attitude as if nothing happened. Hanabi looked over to him with a tentative glance. I need you to be strong so something like that can never happen to you or anyone in my police force. Hell, anyone at all for that matter. Naruto explained. Even I had a confused look. Naruto grinned. The Hyuga clan will be the enforcers of my new world. In many ways they are perfect for it. I'm going to create a world where murder, rape or even maiming someone is punishable by death. That will apply even to my police force. Everyone will be treated the same except for the few individuals I grant exception to. Given that, I can't have a police force that is violating the law. You have to be able to enforce the law without breaking it. The Hyuga clan is perfect for that. With your gentle fist style you can subdue law breakers and bring them in relatively unharmed to await my judgment. Naruto explained. Everyone listened attentively to Naruto's vision. Your father isn't a coward. He is far wiser than you know. He has secured the future of his clan, but most importantly, ensured the safety of his daughters so you will never have to endure anything like what I just put you through, or worse. Quote. My eyes widened in realization. It was a tough lesson, but now that I could see Naruto's mindset, it made me feel a lot better. I just wished he found a less harsh way to prove his point. Hanabi, after your father either passes or becomes too old, you will lead the clan, my police force. You need to be strong. From this day forward you will train directly under me just like Sasuke and Hinata. It will be your responsibility to make sure that things like this never happen to anyone you care about again. And in my empire I expect you to protect all my subjects. Naruto declared. Hanabi hesitated but nodded. Her strength seemed to have returned. Yes, Emperor. she stated obediently while rising to her feet on her own and bowing her head. She was still without a shirt. I took off my jacket and put it over her shoulders. She was hesitant at first, but she didn't resist. Take care of her tonight, Hinata-chan. Naruto instructed. Yes, Emperor Naruto-kun, I replied obediently while leading Hanabi away. Hanabi leaned into me. She was still shaking, but somehow I felt that this experience would bring us closer. General Pav, was that really necessary? Sasuke asked while walking over. Naruto rubbed the side of his neck casually. Maybe not, but at least I got my point across. A girl like that, I didn't think words would have been enough. Naruto explained. Still though, Sasuke frowned. Naruto smirked. Come on, Sasuke. You thought subduing the world was going to be easy. Sasuke shrugged. I guess it's just a bit different when you see what it looks like firsthand. Quote. Naruto nodded in understanding. I hear ya, Naruto said while standing and picking up the large boulder. He began to do squats. I feel I should warn you, Sasuke, I'm going to do a lot worse in the coming days. And I'm not going to feel a bit bad about it. The people of this world need a firm hand. Naruto stated resolutely. Sasuke got into a fighting stance and began to deliver powerful kicks to Naruto's body. This was endurance training for both of them. Naruto shrugged off the kicks while Sasuke endured the feeling of attacking what felt like a stone wall. Yay, that's fine. Just warn me next time. Naruto smirked once more. I'll think about it. Sasuke rolled his eyes as he delivered another kick. You're an evil bastard, you know that, right? Sasuke half joked. That's Emperor Evil Bastard to you. Both boys laughed jovially from the exchange, the two training until night fell. Hinata Pav. Hanabi laid with me curled up in bed. It took a while for her nerves to settle. I'm glad she still let me hold her. It had been years since we did this. Hinata. Hanabi whispered. I looked down at Hanabi, who had her head buried in my chest. Yes, Hanabi. Is Naruto, Emperor Naruto really going to take over the world? Her voice was gentler than I've ever heard. I think he will. I admitted honestly. She thought about my answer. And you are really going to be an empress? It still brought a smile to my face to think about it. Yay. I guess it won't be so bad to have an empress for a sister. The love and adoration I felt for her was beyond words. I squeezed her even tighter. She returned my affection. I'll make sure you get tons of perks. I stated lightheartedly. She giggled. It has been so long since I heard her giggle. It melted my heart. You'd better. I'll have to thank Naruto later for making this possible. I was doubtful of his motives at first, but now the results were clear. I'll never doubt him again. Good night, Hanabi-chan. Quote. Good night, Hinata-ne-chan. My heart fluttered. I couldn't help thinking about the person that brought me and my sister closer. Thank you, Naruto-kun. That's the end of the chapter. Please review. Boom. And Hanabi enters play. Let me know what you think about how I portrayed her in Hiyashi. Also, I hope I've cleared up the issue with Sasuke. No one is going to touch Hinata besides Naruto, and if anyone tries they will feel wrath. Okay, next chapter should be this Sunday. See you then. Ah, the sound of a small voice drew my attention to Hinata and Hanabi's fight. Hanabi was picking herself up off the ground, her legs shaking. I don't really think this is working, Hanabi. If I held back a little more, Hinata began. No, don't hold back. I can take it. This is how I get stronger. The girl insisted while taking her fighting stance. Hinata frowned, but I could see that Hinata's kindness got in the way of her reason. Hanabi charged again, and moments later Hanabi was knocked on her ass. Sasuke and I spared as well, though our fight was significantly more productive. I created a jutsu that allowed me to attach scrolls to my wrists and arms. The thin pieces of paper were heavy, really heavy. It was hard to move. I had to use my chakra in order to make my body function. Kyuubi taught me the training technique. He's a brilliant instructor. It's no wonder I've grown so quickly. At this level of hindrance, a fight between Sasuke and I was more equal, though I always had the upper hand. Still, right now it was a bit too easy. I landed a fist to Sasuke's jaw, making him slide back on his heels. He was distracted. I took advantage while he was looking off to the side. I knew exactly what was on his mind, where he was stealing glances. He'd been watching Hanabi all day. He's so predictable. Really, Sasuke, what's up with you and Hyuga girls? I accused, walking towards him with a knowing smirk. Sasuke averted his gaze, coolly playing it off. I don't know what you're talking about, he retorted. I rolled my eyes. If you are going to lie, at least learn how to be good at it, I lectured. He charged me and we returned to our sparring session. A few moments later, Hanabi was knocked down again and I finally decided to intervene. I caught Sasuke's fist and lazily shoved it back. Alright, that's enough, I stated with a huff. Hinata bowed to me when she saw me approach. God, I loved that. It made me want to ravage her on the spot. Her submission was so why. It almost distracted me from the reason I interfered in the first place. Hanabi was rising shakily to her feet. She had a piercing gaze of determination. I can take it, Emperor Naruto, Hanabi insisted. I shook my head. That's not the point. This training isn't efficient if you spend so much time on your ass. I pointed a thumb casually at Sasuke. You'll be sparring with Sasuke from this point forward. You two are a lot closer in skill level. He won't have to hold back as much. In fact, both of you come here, I ordered. Sasuke and Hanabi nodded, walking in front of me now. I made a few hand signs and slammed my palm on the ground. As I performed that jutsu, a cloud of smoke formed and out of the smoke fell a few scrolls. In the blink of an eye, I attached thin paper tags to Sasuke's and Hanabi's body. They both fell to their knees. This should put your power on an equal level. You will find it very hard to move without using your chakra to empower your body. This way you can both train your chakra and body. Soon enough you should be ready to make your first long-lasting clones. I'd already explained to them why creating clones was so important to their growth. Neither of them were ready to make a clone that lasted any significant amount of time, but I planned to fix that. Begin, I ordered. You'd better not, Hanabi began. As she attempted to speak, she was cut off by a kick straight to her stomach. She gasped as her body crashed to the ground. Sasuke wasted no time in his assault and he didn't stop. He was already in the middle of falling from the air to bring another kick down on her. Hanabi rolled out of the way and rose to her feet. Don't think I'll take it as easy as your sister, Sasuke spoke out with a smirk. Hanabi matched his smirk while dodging his next strike and going in for one of her own. Good, she retorted. They engaged each other seemingly in slow motion, both adapting to their new weight training while still doing their best to tear each other apart. It was fascinating to watch. However, now that that was out of the way, Hinata let out a squeal as I grabbed her by the butt with two hands and tugged her into an aggressive kiss. We were both getting much better at kissing. It only made sense. We'd gotten a lot of practice. Our tongues danced around one another. We created soft smooching noises. Hinata's face reddened, her breath hot and sweet. She had her arms wrapped around my neck, her eyes half-lidded. I could see the love in her gaze. Her complete infatuation and devotion to me was apparent. God, it made me want to do things to her. Unspeakable things. It's about time for our quiet time, my love, I whispered. I've been waiting all day. Hinata cooed needily. I let out a feral growl, tugging her even closer and giving her youthful, plump bottom a firm squeeze. She squealed again and pressed herself closer to me. Her budding chest squished against my pecs. Hinata was a year younger than me. Not only that, she was also a lot less mature. With my clones constantly studying for me, observing the village, gaining experience and knowledge, I'd grown up faster than Hinata. In addition to that, I was already going through puberty. It took all my willpower to restrain myself from taking our relationship a step further. I'd read about what that would look like. Hell, I've seen it countless times. Now that I've been training for about 2 years, I've had a lot of time to learn. My clones had read every book in Konoha's public library multiple times. Of course, some books took more than one reading to fully understand, but with a few study techniques, I'd mastered a ton of material. I've learned about subjects ranging from cooking to gardening, war, even jutsu. By pulling some strings with Hinata's father and the Hyuga clan, I was even able to gain access to a number of forbidden scrolls and study those. My knowledge has increased exponentially. Not only have I read and practiced the knowledge I've gained, a while back I started spying on the village. Hundreds of my clones, using henge jutsu, spy on the everyday lives of the village. Sometimes my clones discuss themselves as people, animals, even random inconspicuous objects. The spying potential was limitlessness. It makes me question the ethical nature of these abilities. I'm surprised the Hokage and the council don't constantly spy on the village. It seems like it would be all too easy. I won't make that same mistake when I begin my new empire. By spying, I'm able to learn so much about human nature, human relationships. In the year I've been doing it, I've seen a lot, bore witness to things not normally befitting the eyes of a mere 12-year-old. LD. However, I am no mere 12-year-old. Not by a long shot. I've seen cheating, murder, unspoken secrets, certain techniques. I can't wait to try a few particular techniques with Hinata, but again, she's not ready and there is too much still to be done. I shouldn't complicate our relationship until I prepare her a bit more. A few more years should do it. Alright, that's enough for today. We'll pick things up first thing in the morning. I called out, making Sasuke and Hanabi stop their sparring. I still held Hinata close in my arms. I was eager to return to our special spot and watch the sun set. It's not even night time. I could go for at least a few more hours. Hanabi complained. Same here. Sasuke spoke up in support of her. If you want us to grow strong as fast as possible, then we should be training at our full potential. Sasuke agrees with me. Right, Sasuke, Hanabi stated while standing up straight and crossing her arms. Sasuke tucked his hands in his pockets and took on his cool, casual, careless posture. She has a point. Sasuke chimed in. I looked over to Sasuke with a knowing smirk. He scoffed and looked away. Shut up. Sasuke spoke without me even needing to say anything. He knew exactly what I was thinking. I waved a hand dismissively. If you two want to kill yourselves in training, then that's fine by me. Just do it far away from here. I have a hot date. I declared while giving Hinata a smack on the butt. I loved making her squeak. We walked away with my arm wrapped securely around Hinata's waist. She leaned against me. She was the perfect girl for me. Hey, we can train at my place. I have this huge backyard by the lake. It's the Uchiha complex, so no one will bother us. Plus, no one will be freaked out if we go all out during the sparring session. We can even use our strongest jutsu if we want. I heard Sasuke propose towards Hanabi. I glanced back to watch them. Oh, I've never been to the Uchiha complex before. Hanabi said in surprise. Sasuke shrugged. First time for everything. Sometimes I can even show you around. It's whatever. Hanabi nodded and the two were gone a moment later. I'm glad they are getting along. Hinata's gentle voice spoke out. My attention was snapped back to her. I grinned. Yay, sure. If that's what you want to call it. I joked before suddenly picking Hinata up bridal style. She let out a surprised shriek and giggled innocently. I couldn't wait to get our special place near the river. We arrived at our favorite spot in a matter of seconds. It was near a small waterfall. It gave a perfect view of the sunset. I wasted no time in laying down with Hinata and thrusting my tongue into her mouth. She sighed and swooned as we fell into that sweet makeout session. This was easily my favorite part of the day. Hinata. Hinata ne-chan. Yes, Hanabi-chan. Hanabi paused. I could see she was lost in thought. We laid in my bed, snuggled close. Her head was resting comfortably atop my chest. She loved the soft cushion. Ever since Hanabi started training under Naruto, we continued to sleep together. In the past few weeks, we'd only grown closer. Naruto was a bit disappointed that we weren't sleeping together, but he understood my desire to reconnect with my sister after all these years of being bitter rivals. I'm glad he supports me, though I wouldn't hesitate to sleep with him if he insisted. So, what's it like to have a boyfriend? My eyes widened at that question. It definitely wasn't something I was prepared to answer. Nor was it something I expected to come from her. She was still only 9 years old. Sure, I'm 11 and I have a boyfriend, but, still. I fidgeted nervously. Well, it's different for everyone, I think. I answered evasively. Hanabi frowned. I know that, but what about you? You both seem happy. A small smile formed on my lips. We are. Hanabi nodded. So, do you know if Sasuke has a girlfriend? What? I began to cough involuntarily. She was looking up at me for answers and I couldn't even look her in the eye. My face must have been red as a tomato. I don't think so. I was so not ready for this conversation. Hanabi frowned at my response. Why not? I mean, he seems cool. You would think that a lot of girls would like him. She went on. I still couldn't look at her. I guess a lot of girls in CLDO, but he doesn't really pay attention to them. I explained. Hanabi's frown deepened. Why not? I shook my head. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. She shook her head this time, giving a huff. No, I can't. It would be weird for me to ask that. He might think I'm uncool. Hanabi protested. I sighed and stared up at the ceiling. Oh gods. The next day. I could tell that Sasuke was really improving with his training. I spared with him now. This gave Naruto a chance to gauge how well Hanabi was improving. He was sparring with her a ways away. You've gotten so strong, Sasuke. I complimented while ducking under one of his kicks. Sasuke smirked. Sure, but I can tell you are still holding back. Me and your sister are a much better match. Sasuke responded. My eyes widened. I don't think Sasuke realized the implications of that sentence. I bit into my bottom lip. I choose my words carefully. So, what do you think about Hanabi? I couldn't help the small blush tinting my cheeks as I asked the question. Sasuke didn't seem to notice. He gave a careless shrug. She's cool. Like I said, she and I are much more close in strength, so it's nice training with her. We push each other's limits. I nodded in understanding. That's good. Sasuke raised a brow at my lackluster response. I think he sensed that I had more to say. Look, you don't have to worry about me hitting on her or whatever. I'm done with girls. Sasuke explained. I went wide-eyed. What? I was so thrown off by his words that I barely managed to block a fist he sent my way. I was thrown off balance. Sasuke took the opportunity to duck low and trip my feet from under me. I crashed flat on my back. Sasuke stood over me with one hand in his pocket, his other hand outstretched to help me up. I'm focusing on my training now. I have no time for girls, so you don't have to worry about me doing to Hanabi what I did to you. Quote. I took Sasuke's hand and got up. I began to poke my fingers together. It was hard to decide how to talk about this. It's okay. You didn't know that Naruto and I were together. Plus, I'm sure most girls would have liked it. I sputtered. Sasuke eyed me for a second before shaking his head and dropping into his fighting stance. Nah, it was stupid. Thinking back on it, it actually makes me feel silly. I was so convinced that you liked me that I completely misinterpreted your behavior. It made me realize that there is a lot about girls I don't understand. If I took the time to practice and went through trial and error, I could get better at it, but who has time for that? Sasuke said while charging me and starting his attack up again. I felt my heart sink. I'm sorry I did that to you. Don't be. It's not your fault. It was my mistake. Live and learn. I won't make that mistake again, Empress. So again, don't worry about your sister. She's cool, but I have more important things to focus on. Like getting strong enough to kill that bastard. Sasuke said while increasing the pace of his attacks. I was distracted the entire day after that conversation. I think Sasuke sensed it and got a bit frustrated because I wasn't focused on our sparring session. His mood brightened significantly when he and Hanabi began sparring again. I could see the look on both of their faces. They really enjoyed spending time with each other, challenging each other, being with each other. I had to make this right. Naruto, you want me to talk to Sasuke about Hanabi? This was definitely an interest request. Hinata had tears welling up in her eyes. I expected to enjoy our time during the sunset like we did every day, but it seems my empress had something else on her mind. She explained to me what Sasuke said. My gaze wandered in thought. I mean, I can't really blame him. If someone crushed my ego like that, I'd be pretty disillusioned as well. Hinata began to cry now. Shit. I sighed and tightened my grip around her. She quivered in my arms. I can't believe I did that to him. It seemed kind of fun at the time, but now that I see the consequences, Hinata began. Yep. That's part of growing up. Your actions have real consequences, for better or for worse. Plus, I'm the one who asked you to lead Sasuke on like that, so you aren't totally to blame. Quote. I don't think I made her feel any better. We have to make this right, Naruto-kun. My emperor, please. She pleaded. I sighed and rubbed the back of my head. It was hard denying her when she got like this. She knew exactly how to press my buttons and get what she wanted out of me, even if she didn't consciously realize what she was doing. Still, it's not as simple as you make it seem. That got her attention. Her confusion was evident. I stood up and brought Hinata with me. We walked over to the edge of the waterfall to stand side by side as we watched the sun set. Hinata maintained a tentative gaze on me. Relationships are very complex, especially the type of relationship that I'm pretty sure a girl like Hanabi would want. I began. I turned to Hinata and wrapped my arms around her waist. Instinctively, she rested her hands on my shoulders. This would be a tough conversation, and I felt that if we held each other, it would be easier to have. She hung off my every word as I explained. Think of relationships like sailing a ship. On the ship, you have a crew, a captain, and a first mate. From what I've observed of Konoha, most relationships are the type that have two captains on one ship. Two people come together, often with opposing goals. It's a balancing act trying to ensure that each person gets what they want, or what they think they need. One captain steers the boat one way, the other captain the opposite way. The best couples find a delicate balance and grow a love that lasts a lifetime. Many never figure it out. Often, even when they do figure it out, things end up going wrong eventually anyway. Regardless, it's always hard, always a struggle. Hinata was biting into her bottom lip. I don't feel like what we have is a struggle, Naruto-kun. Hinata whispered in that gentle, high-pitched voice of hers. I nodded with a smile, leaning down to place a tender kiss against her lips. I know. That's why I love you so much. Our relationship is rare. You have no interest in being a captain on my boat. You are content to be the first mate, following my lead, deferring to my rule and authority. I respect your opinion and I respect you. However, when I put my foot down, you listen. You support me no matter which way I steer the ship. Even when you disagree, you value my leadership more than getting everything you want. There is no more proof of your devotion than when you obediently stood aside as I taught Hanabi that harsh but needed lesson. Hinata's eyes wondering. I could almost see the wheels turning in her head as she recalled the moment when I assaulted Hanabi. It's because I trust you completely, Naruto-kun. Even if you went further, I trusted that you were doing what was best. God, hearing her say that made my heart throb. You are easy to love, Hinata-chan. Quote. I saw immediately the effect my words had on her. She rose up on her tippy toes and crashed her lips against mine. I was so tempted to toss her to the ground and pounce, but I knew this was an important conversation. I allowed the exchange for a few sweet moments before drawing away. While you are easy to love, I seriously doubt Hanabi would be. Hinata nodded. She was just listening now. She was in an infatuated daze. I knew now that whatever I said would be much easier for her to swallow. I smirked. She wasn't the only one with special tools. From what I've seen, Hanabi is the type of girl who would be a captain on the ship. She will have expectations and demands which Sasuke or whatever man she ends up with, will have to contend with. A relationship with Hanabi would be more of what you would typically find between two people, having all the ups and downs that are so standard. They'll argue, and fight, make up, maybe even break up and get back together. I could definitely see a time in the future where they could marry, have a child, and then get divorced. I think the light bulb went off in Hinata's head. She could see it too. I wouldn't be surprised. Hanabi is really strong. Hinata spoke up. I shook my head. Strength comes in many different forms. You are strong too. It takes a great level of strength to put so much trust in someone else that you defer completely to their leadership. Maintaining that level of devotion is a big risk and takes real courage. On that front, I'd say you have just as much strength as Hanabi. In fact, I'd confidently say that you have more. She swooned and fluttered her lashes. I loved the way she did that. It could be distracting to talk to her sometimes, but I managed to keep my train of thought. Hanabi and Sasuke will play important roles in my empire. Sasuke will be the captain of my royal guard. Hanabi will be the chief of police. During times of war, they will act as top lieutenants. They will be at the war table with me, making decisions that hinge on each other's complete cooperation. I cannot afford for those two to be in disharmony. Quote. I walked away from Hinata now. This was extremely important and I had to make her realize the gravity of the situation and the implication of my words. I turned my back to Hinata. I knew that would get her attention. What do you mean, Naruto-kun? I nodded. I had her undivided attention now. I've studied the rise and fall of nations, kingdoms and empires of the past. A common road to annihilation was disharmony in the ranks of leadership. Internal battling and petty rivalries have ended many a great nation. Greed, selfishness, petty drama, these spell the death of unity. If I am to create an empire that lasts throughout the ages, it needs to be built on a type of unity that has never before been seen. I will hammer cohesion and togetherness into my people in a way that no ruler has ever done. Each member of my leadership must represent the unity I wish to see in my people. A lover's squabble among my leadership undermines my message and the strict laws which will be based on that message. Quote, I turned around to see Hinata's overwhelmed expression. In other words, Hinata, if they cannot be together harmoniously, then I will have to interfere with their relationship. If I have to interfere, neither of them will like it. I can't afford to have them distracted by the petty dramas of a typical relationship when they will play such an important role in the new world. Hinata bowed her head. She began to nervously poke her fingers together. So, what you are saying is that if they aren't perfect, then you won't allow them to be together? I shrugged. More or less. If they get together with anyone, even if it's not each other, and they let romantic drama get in the way of their duties in any way, then I will either disband the relationship or cast them from the position of leadership. Sasuke will still be your sworn guard, Hanabi will still be part of the police force, but they will not lead nor have the power, position, and status that comes with such leadership. Quote, Hinata audibly gasped. That seems harsh, Naruto-kun. I nodded in agreement while returning my arms around her waist. Hinata laid her head against my chest. It is harsh, but necessary. The world that I will build will be bigger than us all. It demands sacrifice. And sacrifice is never easy. Hinata, heads up. Sasuke caught an apple that Hanabi threw towards him. He was sitting down, relaxing his back against a tree. Hanabi sat next to Sasuke. The two were taking a break, casually eating an apple next to each other. I sat on Naruto's lap, watching with a conflicted gaze. It was clear how both of them felt. I still caught Sasuke sending Hanabi lingering glances, and she did the same towards him. Neither one of them admitted their feelings. It was so frustrating. I wanted to play matchmaker, but now that I knew the stakes, I wasn't sure that was for the best. My little empress, so distracted lately. Naruto whispered huskily into my ear while planting tender kisses against the side of my neck. I absolutely melted. I raised a hand and entangled my fingers in his spiky blonde hair. It's just. I don't know. I admitted. Let's just see where this goes for now. It may be better for things to happen organically. Either way, if it seems like they are going to end up together, then I will have that talk with them. Naruto warned. I glanced back to see his intense gaze. I bowed my head and nodded obediently. Okay. Naruto let out a deep, rumbling chuckle. Being on his lap, leaning back into him, I could feel the powerful vibrations of his chest. He made my toes curl and my entire body quiver with longing. Enough about them. We have a few more minutes of our break, and I don't plan to spend it thinking about anyone else. And I won't have you thinking about anyone else either. All that should be on your mind is me. Understood? Naruto ordered while suddenly picking me up and turning me around on his lap. I squealed in surprise, my face flushing. He was so strong. I nodded and placed a worshipping kiss against his chest. Yes, Emperor Naruto-kun. He grew a confident grin. Good girl. Happy Sunday, everyone. I really ramped up the evil in this chapter, so be prepared. It's Hinata's turn to get her hands dirty. This is a really important chapter, so I think it's the longest by far. Lucky you. Enjoy. Chapter 10. On with the story. Over a year later, 1 month from graduation. Sasuke. I couldn't help smiling as Hinata and I sparred. We exchanged blows back and forth, neither of us gaining advantage on one another. I knew Hinata wasn't holding back. She promised me she wouldn't this time. I didn't either. I sent bone-crushing kicks and punches towards her, which she narrowly dodged. She thrust her palms at me swiftly. She landed grazing strikes but didn't allow chakra to burst from her palm. If she did, then she could accidentally kill me. She didn't need to use her chakra to strike, her palm strikes were strong enough. Also, given that we were sparring in front of the whole CLWE, decided not to actually use jutsu. I didn't use any ninjutsu or genjutsu, and she didn't use her exploding palm technique. This was pure taijutsu. Given how strong we both were, it would have been very alarming for the CL to watch us move at our true speed. So instead Hinata and I wore gravity tags under our clothes, slowing us down significantly. Naruto made sure to make all the tags the same weight so Hinata and I sparred on equal ground. Hinata and I had been going at it for a while. I knew Mizuki would call off the fight soon, so I did something drastic. I went in and took a palm strike straight to the chest in order to land a kick to Hinata's gut. I gritted my teeth. Even without her exploding palm technique, her hit hurt. If she hit me like that a year ago, she would have broken several of my ribs. However, after so long training under Naruto, my body was a lot more durable. The power of her strike sent me sliding back on my heels. Dirt kicked up beneath my feet. Hinata was sent sprawling to the ground. She rolled a bit before flipping herself up with a handstand and twirling herself back into her fighting stance. Alright, that's enough, Mizuki called out. I stood up straight, a pleased smirk on my face. Damn, I lost, I admitted with a chuckle. What? You didn't lose, Sasuke-kun. Did you see how she took that hit? You totally kicked her butt. Sakura screeched from the side. My pleased expression faded immediately upon hearing the voice of that harpy. My usual fan club had been spectating from the side. They cheered me on ignorantly. They were so damn annoying. It was really close, Sasuke-kun. Hinata chimed, drawing my attention to her. I ignored my annoying fan club and headed over to Hinata. I could see she had a little twig in her hair. Without thinking, I casually reached forward and fished the stick out of her purple strands. Her hair had gotten long. Naruto liked long hair, so Hinata grew it out. It now flowed down to her back. You don't have to try and make me feel better, Empress. I'm okay with losing. Just means I have to work harder to get stronger. I whispered. No one was supposed to hear me calling Hinata Empress, so I always whispered when speaking to her like that. It had become second nature. Hanabi would have been really impressed if she were here. Hinata commented supportively. I nodded. My eyes wandered. It would have been nice if Hanabi was here. Can't hurt to show off every once in a while. Hinata and I went our separate ways, finding our own spots to sit alone and watch the rest of the sparring. Hinata walked over to sit a few feet away from Naruto. The Emperor had been watching the entire fight. He seemed pleased. He sat in seclusion under the shade of a tree, his arms resting behind his head. He still maintained his Dobi persona, though I always noticed the intensity of his gaze. Even while just sitting, Naruto felt like a king. I was surprised no one else noticed. General POV. As Sasuke and Hinata parted ways, neither of them seemed to notice or care about a number of heated glares being sent towards Hinata. Sasuke had been sworn to Hinata's protection for so long that they didn't even notice how intimate their behavior seemed to others. They had no idea that Hinata only belonged to one person. Hinata. I checked my face, turning my head from side to side while washing my hands. CL was almost over and I wanted to make sure I was nice and freshened up for the after-school walk with Naruto. I'd gotten in the habit recently of heading to the bathroom a little before school ended. I heard the bathroom door swing open to my side. It was a bit strange for anyone else to use the bathroom at this time since everyone should be in class. I guess when nature calls, there is no stopping it. Hey, someone called out to me, drawing my attention. As soon as I turned, I felt a rough shove against me, forcing me to take a step back. I was immediately on alert. I was a split second from attacking and killing whoever touched me. When I saw it was Sakura, I calmed down and allowed myself to stumble backwards, my back hitting a wall. Sakura, what's going on? Her and Ino stood side by side, both glaring at me. They closed the distance and stood over me menacingly. I was a bit shorter than them both. They didn't scare me, of course. I could kill them with one finger. Still, that probably wouldn't be a good idea. I'd learned my lesson about showing my strength. They couldn't actually hurt me, so I'd play along with their game, for now. Stay away from Sasuke, Ino warned. I frowned. What are you? Sakura slapped me. I recoiled in disbelief. The slap didn't hurt, but the gesture was extremely upsetting. I held my cheek while on the verge of tears. It took everything I had not to retaliate. Don't play dumb. We see the way you act around him. Look, we know you have a crush on that loser Naruto. Just ask him out already and leave Sasuke alone. He's too good for you anyway. The dead last is much more fitting. Sakura hissed. Then they both turned around and walked away. I was absolutely stunned. I don't ever remember being so angry. How dare they? I balled my fists, my entire body shaking in fury. The worst part is that I knew I couldn't hurt them. If I did, then that could get Naruto-kun in trouble. I cried, more out of frustration than anything. I've been dealing with those two for a while. They never stopped making fun of Naruto for being dead last, and they never stopped bullying me for defending and liking him. When I beat Sakura a year ago, she clearly didn't get the hint. I wasn't direct enough. Now I had to deal with their insolence. Naruto-kun. Yes, Hinata-chan. When you punish people, how does it feel? My brow raised at Hinata's question. It seemed to come out of nowhere. We were curled up in bed, the moonlight shining through our bedroom window. I spooned her, my arms wrapped securely around her body. I couldn't see her face. It feels good, I stated simply. I've told her that before, so I wasn't sure what she wanted to know besides that. So, like, when they glare at you and upset you, punishing them makes you feel better about it? Hinata pressed. My eyes wandered in thought. Yay, pretty much. It's cathartic. Eventually they get this particular look on their face. It's like they know how much they ate up. You can see their regret, and it's probably one of the most satisfying feelings there is. I mused. Hinata went silent after that. Why? I asked. It's just, well, Hinata began. Do you want to try it? Hinata started to grind her thighs together. I could tell how nervous she was. Hey, I called out to her. She turned around so I could finally see her face. She was lost in thought, glancing off to the side. I placed a finger under her chin and raised her head to direct her gaze to mine. I told you, you can do whatever the hell you want. If you want to punish someone, then go for it. She began to poke her fingers together. Hey, are you sure, Naruto-kun? What if someone finds out? I shrugged. No one has found out so far. Hinata-chan, as my empress, you will have complete domain over the subjects of my world. Everyone is yours to play with, to do as you see fit. I'll deal with the consequences. Don't worry your pretty little head. I'll take care of everything. Just do. The world is yours. I'm strong enough now to protect you from anything. Go nuts. Hinata bit into her bottom lip in contemplation before smiling at me and leaning forward to steal an intimate kiss. Thank you, Naruto-kun. She cooed. I grinned brightly. Anything for my empress. Sakura. My head ached so much. My entire body was sore. I tried to raise a hand to cradle my forehead, but my arms wouldn't move. A feeling of panic welled up inside me. I fluttered my eyes open, releasing a pained groan. My gaze was blurry. It took a while for my vision to clear. My eyes widened when taking in my surroundings. Where the hell was I? Question mark. I was in some kind of poorly lit room. It looked kind of like a basement. I could see a closed door on the far side. I shivered. My back was pressed against the wall, my butt rested on the cold floor. I tried to move my arms, but I couldn't. My wrists were bound. I've never been so terrified in my entire life. Did someone kidnap me? The last thing I remember was getting ready for bed in my room. I was in front of my vanity mirror brushing my hair, then everything went black. I think I saw a shadow in the mirror, but I couldn't make out who it was. A muffled voice drew my attention to the side. Oh my god. Ino. Ino was sitting down next to me with her arms bound behind her back by rope. Her ankles were bound too, just like mine. I could see the rope was tied to a pipe on the floor. I tried to talk to her, but both our mouths were covered by duct tape. She was just as scared as I was. The door opened on the far side of the room, drawing both our attention. My eyes went wide when I saw who it was. Hinata. Hinata. She walked in with an eerily calm look on her face, her hands resting on her pelvis. Why was Hinata here? She couldn't have done this, right? She was here to rescue us for sure. Right. Hinata walked up to us and looked down with a blank expression. She glanced at both of us, her eyes narrowed. Then came the smack. I recoiled from the blow she gave to the side of my face. Ino got one soon after. I couldn't help the tears pouring from my eyes. I tried to speak, but she smacked me again. My face throbbed. Every muffled cry I gave was met with another smack until I went quiet. She finally stopped. I'm sure you are both wondering what you are doing here. Hinata finally spoke up. I looked at her cautiously, glancing over to Ino. She matched my gaze. Neither of us knew what to do. This is a long time coming. I'll teach you some respect. Hinata stated in a haunting voice. I thought for a second that this might be an imposter. No way this was the meek Hinata we knew. But her voice was the same. She even moved the same as she turned her back to us and walked over to a table. I began to twist my wrists, trying to get free. I could see Ino was doing the same. Hinata grabbed something from the table and made her way back to us. It was a pail. She sat it nearby and watched us. I think she noticed what we were trying to do. Her eyes narrowed. Hinata dropped down to her knees. She raised her palms before striking our chests. I screamed. It hurt so bad. What was she doing? I see you are trying to escape. You can't. I made sure of it. If you keep trying, you are only going to make me more angry. Quote, whatever she was doing to me was more painful than anything I've ever felt. It felt like I was being electrocuted. Her finger dug into my rib and I convulsed in agony. Finally, she pulled back and I began to whimper. I went still, hoping not to make her any angrier. Better, she said while reaching forward. I flinched away from her. She didn't strike us again. This time she removed the tape on our lips. Hinata, stop this. Why are you doing this? You'd better let us go. I shouted with tears streaming down my face. When everyone finds out about this, they are going to lock you away for good. They might even execute you. If you let us go right now, then maybe we'll have them go easy on you. Ino spoke up angrily. Hinata glared at us before thrusting her palms into our chest. The pain came again like a wave. Ah, Hinata, stop. Help. Ino screamed. Shut up. Hinata yelled, thrusting her hand against us again. I coughed violently, gasping for breath. Hinata, please, I pleaded. When I get out of here, Ino ranted. I looked over at Ino in panic. Shut up, Ino. No, she's dead. Ino was livid. Hinata stood up and balled her fists. She shook her head and glared down at Ino. I won't let you just keep being like this. I'll teach you no matter what it takes. Hinata stated resolutely while focusing her ire on Ino. I watched in horror as Hinata began to beat Ino. She slapped her, hit her with palm strikes and poked at the girl's body. Ino screamed at first, but after a while she stopped making noise. I was mortified. I'd never seen Hinata so angry. Hinata, please stop. We've learned our lesson. I begged. No. Hinata had tears pouring down her face while she screamed those words. Her face was bright red. She fell back on her butt, finally ceasing her attack on Ino. Ino looked beaten now, the girl's head bowed. Hinata was panting, hugging her knees to her chest. Why are you doing this, Hinata? I tried to reason with her. She glared at me. After everything you've done, you really have to ask. I was taken aback. I took some time to think. My eyes widened in realization. I'm sorry for making fun of Naruto and teasing you about him. I blurted out. She narrowed her gaze. What else? She questioned. My mind raced. I shook my head in frustration. I'll make it easy for you. Came another voice. I recognized that voice. Oh my god. Sasuke walked into the room, closing the door behind him. He walked forward with his usual cool stride, pockets in his hands carelessly. I was shocked. He walked over to Hinata and held out a hand for her. She took it and rose to her feet. Sasuke bowed to her. Empress, he declared respectfully. Ino raised her head now and had a look of disbelief just like me. Sasuke-kun, I questioned. Sasuke eyed me before turning his attention to Hinata. You should gag them. I could hear them from upstairs. To do this right, this is going to take a while and I'd rather not hear their annoying voices. If you approve, Empress, Sasuke proposed. Hinata nodded. Thanks for the advice, Sasuke-kun. Please take care of it. I need a minute. Hinata walked away from us over to the table again. While she did, Sasuke bent down and took a roll of duct tape from his pocket. Sasuke-kun, I questioned desperately. He shook his head and narrowed his eyes. Pathetic. Sasuke spat scornfully while placing tape over my mouth. I whimpered now. What did I do to deserve this? Hinata. It was easier to torture them with Sasuke there. After a while my hands stopped shaking. I was so angry, but at the same time I couldn't help feeling guilty with every blow. Sasuke seemed to care less than I did. I wanted them to suffer, but it was still hard. Having someone else there with me to share the experience made it easier. After a few hours we left Sakura and Ino in the cellar and turned off the lights. I was in a pretty good mood during training. Naruto asked me about it. You seem especially upbeat. Naruto pointed out. I nodded. I am. I actually feel great. He raised a brow. Oh. My eyes wandered. Well, you remember what we talked about last night? Naruto's eyes trailed off. He only took a moment to remember. His eyes widened. I could see that he figured it out. That was fast. So you found someone to punish. Quote. You little devil. He teased. And that was that. He didn't even ask who it was. I don't think he cared. I guess to him it didn't matter. What mattered was that I was happy. Naruto's support emboldened me. I tortured Sakura and Ino for 2 more days. It was a little bit easier now. I fed them and gave them something to drink. I didn't plan on keeping them for good. I just wanted to make sure that they learned to never disrespect Naruto or me again. With Sasuke there to help, I think they realized that they had no chance with him, so hopefully after this they wouldn't bully me about being near Sasuke either. I don't think they'd be bullying anyone ever again. After a while I began to ignore their screams. I scared even myself, but how much I began to enjoy it. That is until, I think I might have gone too far. Naruto. Hinata seemed really happy lately. She must have been having a lot of fun with the punishment. I was pleasantly surprised. It actually warmed my heart. I was pretty sure that the enjoyment of torture was a weird and rare thing. I didn't think I'd find anyone to enjoy it with me. It was nice to know that Hinata found it satisfying as well. Made me feel a bit less lonely in that regard. I never asked who she was punishing. I wanted to send her the message that to me it didn't matter. She could have the Hokage for all I cared. No one was off limits. I wouldn't let anyone stop her. I wanted her to feel empowered. In hindsight, maybe that wasn't the wisest choice. Oh well, I'll handle it. Today I immediately noticed Hinata's sour mood. Usually she'd go to the basement right after school to spend a couple hours there. Then she'd come to the clearing to train. I didn't mind that she trained a little less than Sasuke and Hanabi. Hinata had multiple clones training for her at all times, so she could afford to take time out of her day for fun. But today she came to the clearing after only 10 minutes. She looked distressed. She walked up to me, rubbing her arm nervously. Hinata-ne-chan, are you okay? Hanabi stopped her sparring session with Sasuke to call out to Hinata in concern. Empress? Sasuke questioned cautiously. Hinata headed straight for me and fell into my arms, burying her head into my chest. I think I messed up, Naruto-kun. Hinata whispered in a vulnerable manner. I nodded in understanding. Let's go see. I instructed while leading Hinata out of the clearing. We'll be back. I called out to Hanabi and Sasuke. They maintained concerned looks, but they didn't question it. They knew I'd take care of it. Hinata opened the door to the torture room and looked back at me tentatively while leading the way. I went wide-eyed. Goddammit. Sakura and Ino were sitting passed out on the floor. They looked terrible. Their clothes were dirty, hair frizzed and unkempt. I could see obvious bruises on their bodies. Hinata stood in front of them with her head bowed, the girl poking her fingers together. It's Ino, she explained. I nodded and walked forward, squatting down in front of Sakura. Hey, I called out, tapping Sakura on the forehead. She slowly lifted her head, growing a look of surprise when seeing my face. She looked at me cautiously. I don't think she knew if I were a friend or foe. I grabbed her chin and lifted her head roughly. She whimpered and closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. I think she realized at that moment that I was not her friend. I turned her head from side to side, gauging her reaction. Well, she's fine at least, I stated carelessly. Hinata bit into her bottom lip, nodding at me before shifting her attention to Ino. I moved to Ino now and did the same thing. Ino didn't respond. I lifted her head and saw the look in her eyes. She wouldn't look at me. She was gazing out at nothing. Hey, I said while giving Ino a small smack to the face. She recoiled but gave no other response. I sighed. I see. What's wrong with her, Naruto-kun? Hinata whimpered. I stood up and reached an arm for Hinata. She recognized the gesture, immediately scampering over to my side and leaning against me. I wrapped an arm around Hinata and led her out of the room. Once the door was closed, I turned to her. Naruto-kun, she questioned desperately. I could see how upset she was. I pulled her into my warm embrace to calm her down. It's okay, Hinata-chan. I know what happened. What is it? You broke her. Hinata let out an audible gasp, covering her mouth with both hands. What does that mean? I rubbed the back of my neck. Well, it's hard to explain. I'll try as best as I can. Basically, everyone has different pain tolerances. When you push someone to their limits and make them lose all hope, then they recede into themselves. It's a coping mechanism. They've lost all hope, so they just give up. I explained. Hinata looked at me in horror. Oh my gods. Tears were streaming down her face now. Oh Naruto. What do we do? I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted to make them pay, and I guess I just went overboard. Naruto. She rambled, sputtering. I placed a finger against her lips. Shish. It's okay. She shook her head. But how, Naruto-kun? I did this. I broke her. I'm a monster. I was just having so much fun and I didn't. Oh god. Hinata broke down, wrapping her arms around herself and backing away. I grabbed her and pulled her back into my tight hold. It's okay. It's okay. We can fix it. But how, Naruto-kun? Don't you trust me? I questioned. That snapped her out of her despair immediately. Of course I do, Emperor Naruto-kun. She said in alarm. I narrowed my gaze. Then why are you still crying if I told you I can fix it? I challenged. She wiped her tears rapidly. I'm sorry. She whispered pathetically. I chuckled and leaned down to plant a kiss on her forehead. No need to apologize. Just calm down and I'll take care of everything. Okay, Naruto-kun. She laid her head against my chest and went quiet. We maintained that hold until her nerves were settled. I had Hinata work side by side with me for the next few days as I showed her what to do. In order to make this right, we have to give Ino hope again. All you've given her is the stick. Now she needs the carrot. Quote. We clothed Ino with clean clothes and set out a table and beds in the basement. We knew she wouldn't try to escape. We took care of her over the next few days. Hinata stayed with her, tending to her needs. We promised her that we'd let her go when she got better and was able to behave normally. That's the carrot. The promise of freedom. Are you sure it will work, Naruto-kun? It will work well enough. You only had her for a few days, so after some therapy she should be fine. I'm just glad you got me right away, otherwise the damage would probably be irreparable. We kept Sakura locked up but didn't torture her. Sakura wasn't broken, but I needed to make sure she knew the consequences of behaving disrespectful towards me and my empress. After a few days I felt that Ino was ready to leave. She wasn't fully healed, but at least she could function. I knocked her out and left her in the forest. We knew she'd be able to find her way home. When I returned to the basement, I found Sasuke and Hinata sitting at the dining table. The basement was filled with furniture now. We used it as a sort of recovery ward. I took a seat at the head of the table. Hinata and Sasuke sat opposite each other. There was a long silence. So do you really think she'll be okay, Naruto-kun? I placed my arms behind my head and stared up at the ceiling. Probably. I stated simply. Hinata didn't seem to be satisfied with that answer, but I didn't want to lie to her. This is my fault. I should have said something. Sasuke spoke up now. No, you can't blame yourself, Sasuke-kun. I did this. Hinata insisted. Enough. I spoke up now, drawing both their attention. Sasuke, it is your job to look after my empress. If she makes a mess, you are supposed to clean it up. She needs your guidance and advice. You should have read the situation better and advised Hinata on what could happen. I lectured. Sasuke bowed his head in shame. Hinata-chan, you didn't tell me about the nature of your punishment. You didn't tell me what you were doing and who you were doing it to. It stopped my ability to intercede and show you proper guidance. Quote. Hinata bowed her head and wrapped her arms around herself. I should have asked you about the details of what you were doing. I should have been more involved. In my arrogance, I allowed you to suffer needlessly instead of helping you draw from my experience. I know all about this and I could have prevented it. I continued. The two looked at me tentatively. Still, no one is to blame. Blame implies that we did something wrong. I won't let us think like that. Hinata-chan, you were well within your right to do whatever you wanted to them. An outcome happened that you didn't like, but that didn't make your actions wrong. These types of things are always going to happen. We deal with them when they happen. It's called consequences. Beating ourselves up about it won't do anything. What we do is learn from it. Simple as that, I stated resolutely. Hinata poked her fingers together. I could see that she disagreed, but she didn't want to contradict me. Especially not in front of Sasuke. Speak your mind, Hinata-chan. It's just, how can what I did not be wrong? After what I did to them, to her. I didn't like it. Now that I've gotten a chance to go over the past few days, I feel sick. Hinata admitted. I nodded in understanding. You just discovered something you don't like. Doesn't make it wrong. I clarified. Hinata held a confused look. I think I get it. Sasuke spoke up, drawing our attention now. Empress, in the Emperor's world, right and wrong is what he says it is. He's granted you exception to the laws and rules that will be imposed upon everyone else. You can kill, torture, maim, and do other bad things that would be bad if anyone else did it. But in this world, the Emperor has granted you special rights. Only you. So this isn't about what you did being wrong. If you don't like it, then don't do it. Do something else. You can do whatever you want and it's all justified. Sasuke explained. I nodded in approval. Hinata took some time to think about what Sasuke said. Why is it okay for me to do these things if it isn't okay for anyone else? She questioned. I grinned. Now we were getting somewhere. Because laws and morals are arbitrary. People just make them up as they go along. That's why this world is so chaotic. Everyone thinks about morality differently. Different cultures, families, religions. Even then, a lot of them don't adhere to their own rules. It's all a shitshow. When you boil it down, most everyone does what's in their best interest or the best interest of the IR families. Morality is a fairy tale. Functionally, historically, it has just been used to control people. That's where I come in. I will make the law of the land real, not because I am more right, moral, or ethical than anyone else. My word will be the law of the land because I am the strongest. I won't just be an emperor. I will be a god, dictating right and wrong. The atrocities we commit will only be justified when we do it, which means that everyone else will still have to follow my laws in order to survive and thrive in my empire. I will shape this world in any way I see fit, and if anyone defies me, they will be devoured. In doing so, I will monopolize the evil in the world, making the evil die with me. Hinata-chan, you are a part of that as well. We can do whatever we want because it's our job to be the judge, jury, and executioner. We will cause a lot of pain by bringing the world to heel. Someone has to do it so that the innocent people of my world won't have to. There is no other way to create a world full of innocence without someone monopolizing evil. Since that's going to be us anyway, we might as well enjoy ourselves. In the face of all that, what's a little torture? This is child's play compared to what comes next. Hinata, I think I finally got it. What I did wasn't wrong because Naruto is the law. If he says it isn't wrong, then it isn't, and that's that. Still, I still don't want to do that again, Naruto-kun. Naruto reached an arm out for me. I was happy to follow his silent command. I got up and moved over to him, sitting on his lap. He held me close. Then you don't have to. Quote. Naruto lifted me up and held me bridal style. I sighed contently. I was still a bit upset, but being carried by Naruto always felt really nice and it did a lot to cheer me up. Sasuke, let Sakura go in the morning. Make sure she knows her place. Naruto instructed. Yes, Emperor. Sasuke gave a respectful bow as Naruto carried me away. We went to bed early that night. Tonight had been really stressful. Naruto. Naruto-kun. Yes, Hinata-chan. I don't think I hated it all. For a while there I did enjoy it. She fidgeted a bit. I raised a brow. Why did she feel the need to say that? Unless, did you do that for me? I questioned suspiciously. Hinata hesitated. A little, I guess. I wanted them to pay for being so mean to you and me. But, I also wanted to be more like you. I've been watching you for so long, just sitting on the sidelines. I felt like if I joined in, then I could be closer to you, understand you better. I wanted to share your passion. I shook my head and raised a hand to trail through my hair. She looked up at me cautiously. I'm sorry I couldn't enjoy it in the end. She whispered under her breath. I signed and squeezed her tight. Hinata-chan, you are so adorable. I got her to blush. Good. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Quote. I chuckled and leaned down to give her an Eskimo kiss. You don't have to force yourself to do those types of things just to impress me or to be close to me. No one is closer to me than you, and that will never change. Quote. She nodded, avoiding my gaze. I guess I just get insecure sometimes. I love you so much and I just want to be as close as possible. I raised a brow. Do you feel like we aren't close? She shook her head frantically. No, nothing like that. I love how close we are. It's just that I want to be perfect. I want to share everything you do. That means sharing your passions too. Where is this coming from, Hinata-chan? Quote. Her eyes wandered. Well, Sasuke and Hanabi still aren't dating. Maybe they never will, but they still talk to each other all the time about their passion. Which is how to grow stronger. They speak excitedly towards each other, challenge each other, push each other. Their eyes sparkle when they train together. Even if they don't end up dating, they will make perfect partners. It all made sense now. I didn't realize you felt that way. What can I do to make you feel closer to me? Quote. I was genuinely surprised. Hinata and I were inseparable. We had been for years. I shared with her every bit of my life. I didn't keep secrets from her, I told her everything. I didn't think it was possible for me to be closer to a person. That's how I felt, but what mattered right now was how she felt. This was my empress. I would do anything to make her feel better, to make her feel as happy as possible, as close as possible to me. Hinata thought over my question. She frowned. I don't know. My passion is your passion. Outside of spending time with me and training, punishing the villagers seemed to be your favorite thing. I wanted to be more a part of that, but I see now that I didn't need to be. I was being silly. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. I thought over Hinata's response. You don't need to be sorry. I really appreciate you wanting to be closer to me. Actually, I have an idea. Hinata looked up to me curiously. Hinata. Ah, please stop. Emperor. Empress. Please. Sakura screamed. Naruto stood behind me, holding me close as he guided my hand. I held a kunai, cutting into Sakura's side. I could see her insides. Well, the illusion of her insides. Naruto cast a genjutsu on Sakura and me. It allowed us to be in a virtual realm where I could inflict pain on Sakura, but it wouldn't actually show on her physical body. Okay, Sakura-chan. You've been so good that we are going to let you go tomorrow. I stated happily while pulling the kunai from her body. She panted and looked at me doubtfully. Really? I nodded. As I nodded, the genjutsu dissipated and we were back in the attic. Sakura was still on the cold floor. Her clothes were clean now. We took better care of her since breaking Ino. I didn't want to break Sakura too. Naruto said that we could torture Sakura a little bit more without breaking her. He showed me a number of techniques I could use for the future. I bent over and undid Sakura's bindings, freeing her. She rubbed her wrists and looked up at us tentatively. I hope you appreciate this. Naruto spoke out with his eyes narrowing. Yes. Thank you, Emperor Naruto, Empress Hinata. Sakura said with a deep bow. Here, show us how appreciative you are. Naruto said, raising a foot in front of Sakura. Sakura took a moment to contemplate Naruto's meaning. Her eyes widened. She immediately dipped her head down to kiss the top of Naruto's foot. Good girl. Naruto praised. Thank you, Emperor. Sakura stated obediently. Naruto raised a brow, looking over to me. Sakura got the hint, crawling forward on all fours to kiss my feet as well. Is this good, Empress? She questioned. I looked to Naruto. He nodded in approval. Yes, that's good. Thank you. Sakura blurted out, bowing again and placing her head to the ground. Naruto turned around and brought me along. I clung to his side. Follow. Naruto commanded. Sakura didn't need to be told twice. She rose to her feet. As soon as she did, Naruto stopped, turning his head to the side to glance harshly over to Sakura. She froze and immediately dropped down to her knees. Naruto began to walk again. She got the hint. She crawled on all fours, following us close behind. You see, Hinata-chan, this is more satisfying than breaking them. You cause just enough pain for them to show proper respect. The best part is that they deserve it. They earned this. I've broken a few before. I understand why you would feel bad about it. Honestly, it bummed me out too. So I don't do it anymore. I teach them just enough so they learn respect, but they are still able to act as functioning and useful members of society. Naruto lectured as we made our way into the basement room that we turned into a healing ward. I nodded in fascination, looking back to Sakura who was still crawling behind us. How do you know when to stop? Quote, I wanted to know everything I could. Naruto was a great teacher. You have to get good at reading people. You'll get better with time. This could be an alternative to devouring those who commit lesser sins. Give them a second chance. Wow, I didn't think people would get a second chance in your world, Naruto-kun. Yep, the reason I punish people is because it's satisfying. But being merciful can also be satisfying too. It's the best of both worlds, really. Naruto said in a chipper manner. I marveled at him. That's so beautiful, Naruto-kun. He rubbed his nose with a big grin. Thanks, babe, he stated happily, bending down to give me a kiss on the cheek. I swooned, fluttering my lashes adoringly. He let out a demonic growl. I shivered. After a moment of our lingering gaze, Naruto turned us around to face Sakura. She was waiting patiently on all fours, bowing her head submissively. That will be your bed. I trust you won't try to leave without permission, Naruto proclaimed, pointing to the bed that Ino had been sleeping on in the last few days. I would never dream of it, Emperor. Sakura assured us. She crawled forward and began to pepper Naruto's toes with kisses. All right, rise and get to bed, Naruto stated in a huff, waving her off dismissively. Sakura finally stood up and bowed at the waist. She walked meekly over to the bed and climbed under the covers without another word. Naruto and I made our way up the stairs. He closed the basement door behind us once we reached the top. I noticed that he left the door unlocked. Aren't you afraid she'll try to escape, Naruto-kun? Naruto chuckled. Not in the least, he stated confidently. I made a mental note of that, of how much it took for Naruto to feel confident that he'd thoroughly trained someone. In the years I've been with him and helped him punish the villagers, I had only seen bits and pieces of what Naruto did. I was never a part of the full process. There was a lot I didn't understand. I didn't ask questions, I wasn't curious. I just did what Naruto told me. Things were different now. I was more hopeful and very curious. Showing mercy after torture was a lot better than just continuing to inflict pain until they broke. Naruto made it fun again. The best part was that we did it together now. He tutored me, helped me, gave me advice, and was eager to answer all my questions. I could feel us growing closer. It made me so happy. I think this was the start of something beautiful. There was never anything wrong with our relationship. Naruto loved me more than anything, I had no doubts about that. But I still felt the need to improve. This was my passion, getting better and better at being Naruto's perfect wife. This was a hard few days, but I've grown a lot from it. I only plan to grow more. I'll show him. By the time we made it back to bed, it was almost morning. Thank you for teaching me today, Naruto-kun. I whispered sweetly. Anything for my empress. Thank you for being so perfect. I'm not perfect yet, Naruto-kun. Even though things are alright now, I still messed up. Naruto slapped my butt, making me squeak and look at him meekly. Stop that. I said that you could do whatever you want, and I meant it. There will be consequences for everything you do, good and bad. And I'll deal with them happily. So I don't want to hear about you messing up, or doing wrong, or anything like that. It's impossible. Just do what you want. That's the benefit of being my empress. So cut it out. You can do anything. Well, mostly anything. Naruto's voice trailed off. Mostly. He grinned and rubbed the back of his head. Well, anything except cheat on me. If I ever found you with another guy, I'd probably go crazy. Naruto said lightheartedly. I would never. I stated in alarm. He chuckled. Good. I rubbed a circle in his chest with a finger. I want to be so perfect that you never think about doing anything like that either. I whispered under my breath. How could I think about anyone else when I have such a perfect wife already? I smiled brighter than I had in days. We shared a passionate kiss. I'm so glad to hear that, Naruto-kun. If I ever found you with another woman, well, I wouldn't feel guilty about breaking her. I let out a surprised shriek. Naruto rolled over on the bed so he was on top of me. He bit into the side of my neck dominantly. A shiver of pleasure creeped up my spine. This was so sudden. I was not prepared for his forceful onslaught. Naruto, I questioned in an infatuated daze. You can't expect me to control myself when you say why stuff like that. He growled. I filled our bedroom with squeals as he pounced. We didn't get much sleep that night. General POV. Knocks rattled against the wood of a door. Dull eyes stared forward, waiting for the door to open. It swung open, a woman on the other side. The woman let out a sharp gasp. Ino. The woman cried out while dropping to her knees and engulfing the blonde in a hug. Ino rose shaky arms up to embrace her mother. Mommy. Ino whimpered. Ino's mother pulled back, scanning her daughter's face. Seeing her daughter's expression broke her heart. A man sprinted into view, freezing when seeing the image before him. Daddy. Ino spoke up. Sweetheart. He called out, dashing forward at blinding speed to join his family in that sweet hug. He immediately noticed the girl's face. He and Ino's mother exchanged glances. Their eyes narrowed. Whoever did this to their baby would pay dearly. Uruka. Call dismissed. Everyone was eager to leave as the school day ended. I nodded to my students as they left. Naruto gave me a bright smile and wave as he departed. He was always so bright. It helped lighten the mood. Ino had been missing for weeks now. Sakura was too, but she returned a few days ago. She didn't talk about where she was and she swore she knew nothing about Ino's absence. Sakura was different. It was obvious for anyone to see. I tried to talk to her but she assured me nothing was wrong. She wouldn't open up. I think Ino's absence was really affecting her. I moved to my office now and thought of ways I could help. Graduation was less than 2 weeks away. If I didn't help now, that I doubted I would get the chance. A knock at my office door drew my attention. I assumed it was one of my students seeking private counsel. Come in, I announced, taking a seat at my desk. My eyes widened when I saw the elderly face of the Hokage. I immediately rose from my seat and bowed at the waist. Hokage-sama, to what do I owe this pleasure? Quote. Sarutobi walked forward with a pipe dangling from his mouth. He maintained an upright, military posture, one arm resting behind his back. He reached for his pipe and pulled it out, huffing a plume of smoke through his nose. Have a seat, Uruka. We have much to discuss. What he told me shook me to my core. What's up, Uruka-sensei? Do I have something on my face? Naruto questioned while slurping up some noodles. We were at his favorite ramen shop. I tried to buy Naruto ramen at least once a week. I'd done so for years. He was an orphan, the demon child who so many people cast their ire on. I knew Naruto to be a sweet, if somewhat naive boy. At least I thought I knew him. After the Hokage approached me, I wasn't so sure. Naruto, I began. I could barely say his name. The Hokage's accusations were unspeakable. I just couldn't believe it. Not him, not this innocent boy. Naruto looked to me expectantly. Yay. I gritted my teeth and turned away. Quote. It's nothing. Are you sure, Uruka-sensei? You look like you've seen a ghost. Let me guess, I'm eating too much and spending too much of your money. I probably shouldn't have asked for seconds. Naruto stated in a chipper yet apologetic manner while rubbing the back of his head and grinning brightly. I stared at him before turning away again. Periodically during the meal I stole glances towards the boy. There was no way Naruto could be the monster the Hokage accused him of being. It couldn't be. I had to know the truth before the Hokage's plan came to fruition. I couldn't let Naruto be victimized by a simple misunderstanding. If I could just prove his innocence. Or maybe, I don't know. The walk home afterwards was especially long. Naruto. After parting ways from Uruka, I mulled over our conversation, his suspicious behavior. It didn't take me long to come to a conclusion. As I nodded resolutely, I heard a commotion through the trees. I can't believe you. I heard Hanabi scream. I raised a brow. That was rare. I already told you. I was just doing what the Empress commanded. Sasuke replied. I pushed my way through the bushes to enter my usual training clearing. Hanabi was screaming at Sasuke's face. I thought we were closer than that. Especially after well, you know. Hanabi blurted out in a fluster. Please don't fight. Hinata's meek voice spoke up. Hanabi ignored Hinata, the younger Hyuga standing with her arms crossed. Relationships are supposed to have trust. Hanabi lectured. Sasuke shook his head and gritted his teeth. I narrowed my eyes. I didn't like the scene before me one bit. What the hell is going on? Hanabi glanced towards me before turning her back to Sasuke. Sasuke turned away from her as well. Explain yourself. Now, I commanded. Upon hearing my serious tone, Hanabi spoke up. I just found out that Hinata was torturing people, not just assisting you. She was doing it on her own. She knew how I would have felt about it if she told me, so she kept it secret. And Sasuke kept it secret from me too. Hanabi spat out Sasuke's name. Sasuke kept his hands in his pockets, looking away. Who am I to defy the Empress' wishes? Sasuke grumbled in annoyance. Really, Sasuke? Couples shouldn't keep secrets from one another. I raised a brow. This information was news to me. I looked to Hinata. She was bowing her head, poking her fingers together. She knew. Everyone turned to me when they heard my laughter. I shook my head and grinned. Shame on me for not paying close enough attention. No worries, Hinata-chan. I never asked. I'm guessing it happened recently, after our talk. I questioned. Hinata nodded. Why, yes, Naruto. I know how you feel about it, but I thought they would do well together. They've gotten along so well. Until now. Hinata meekly whispered. I nodded in understanding. This is exactly the type of bullshit I was talking about. I proclaimed while walking over to Hanabi. What do you mean, Naruto? Hinata. Oh my gods. I covered my mouth as Naruto slapped Hanabi. She fell to the ground, hard. Even Sasuke was shocked. Emperor? Hanabi questioned from her position on her butt. Naruto didn't stop. He hovered over her and smacked her again. She fell backwards, sliding along the ground. That smack was earth-shattering. It had to be given how strong Hanabi was. Naruto. Sasuke called out in alarm. Naruto ignored him, stepping over Hanabi now and straddling her waist. Hanabi was cradling her cheek, tears trailing down her face. I was reminded of what happened so long ago. This was just like that. I hoped he wouldn't take it that far again. Hinata is my empress. Arguing because your Ing boyfriend wouldn't tell you secrets that Hinata explicitly wanted to be kept secret is asinine. Never let your relationships come before duty. Naruto yelled before slapping Hanabi again. Then again, and again. I quivered, not knowing what to do. I wanted so badly to run up and stop him, but he was my emperor and I was his loyal, supportive wife-to-be. Naruto-kun, please. I think she understands. I begged. Not yet. Naruto retorted simply while continuing his onslaught. Hanabi laid along the ground helplessly. She was bleeding now. I turned my head away, conceding to his will. As I did, Naruto let out a pain-filled grunt. Sasuke hit Naruto with a clean punch directly on the jaw. Naruto took the punch without moving, causing the energy of that attack to create a large crater along the ground. Naruto turned his head to look at Sasuke, growing a bright grin. Finally, Naruto said in a chipper manner while spitting out blood and rising to his feet. He stepped away from them calmly. Naruto's face had a small bruise where Sasuke punched, but Naruto didn't seem to care. Nor did he care that Sasuke attacked him. He was very nonchalant about the entire affair. Hanabi leaned up and cradled her bruised cheek. Sasuke inspected her in concern. Hanabi gave him an affirmative nod, signaling that she was okay. I breathed a sigh of relief. Hanabi was so tough. Rise. Naruto commanded. Sasuke reached a hand out to Hanabi and helped her up. Your duty outweighs any and all other relationships. I told Hinata before that if it seemed like your relationship interfered with your duty, then I would step in. Both of you will play an integral part in my empire as key members of leadership. I cannot afford to have you in disharmony. The stakes are too high. Especially right now when Iruka knows. That got their attention. Mine too. What do you mean, Emperor? Hanabi questioned in confusion. She was already back to her normal, composed self. Unlike a year ago where she became vulnerable after Naruto's lesson, Hanabi recovered almost immediately. He bought ramen for me today, like he does every week. Except this time he was acting strange. He either knows or heavily suspects what we've been doing. I know he hasn't been following me, so the only reasonable conclusion is that someone told him. Obviously it's not any of us, and I'm confident it wasn't Sakura, so that leaves only one answer. Ino told her parents and her parents told the Hokage, then the Hokage told Iruka. I expected this. Ino's clan has a special ability to read people. Ino wouldn't be able to hide the truth from them. That means that we are now a target. The Hokage will likely try to use Iruka to distract me as they launch a coordinated strike. I suspect we'll be attacked very soon. Maybe tonight. Tomorrow, a week. I don't know exactly when, but it's only a matter of time. Sasuke and Hanabi narrowed their gaze. I had mixed feelings about that information. I knew we were walking a tightrope and that this day would come eventually, but now that it was here, it made me nervous. Naruto must have sensed how nervous I was because he reached out for me. I quickly made my way over to his side and leaned into him as he wrapped an arm around my waist. Naruto continued his explanation. Both of you are about as strong as the Hokage. But if we are to face the entire might of Konoha, then we would still be vulnerable. I can take the entire village by myself, but if you two are distracted, you can be caught off guard and either killed or captured. Your jobs are to protect my empress. I will not tolerate failure because you two are distracted by your petty drama. Naruto ranted. Sasuke and Hanabi bowed their heads in shame. Naruto walked forward, pulling away from me now to stand just inches away from them. If you cannot be together without arguing, then I'm breaking this relationship up right now. You cannot sleep in the same bed, share a kiss, a hug. You aren't ready, and I won't allow this relationship until you are able to be with each other in perfect harmony as me and my empress are. If you think you can be together and never argue, then speak up now. Naruto challenged. Sasuke and Hanabi exchanged conflicted glances before looking away. I thought so. If you disobey my declaration, not only will you lose your future role as a leader in my empire, but with that lost responsibility also goes the training. Sasuke, you are as strong as the Hokage but still not Itachi. Disobey me and I'll see to it personally that you never reach his level of strength. Naruto threatened. Sasuke went wide-eyed. Is that really necessary? Sasuke questioned in shock. Naruto didn't back down. More than necessary. If you are the type of person to disobey a command from your emperor, then you are not just unworthy of leadership. Given how strong I've made you, you'll become a liability. There was a long silence that fell over all of us as we processed the gravity of Naruto's words. Sasuke dropped to one knee and bowed his head. You have my word, Emperor. I will not be with anyone I cannot be in perfect harmony with, as you are with the Empress. Sasuke declared. Hanabi hesitated, looking down to Sasuke with a sad gaze. After a moment, she bit into her bottom lip and dropped to one knee beside Sasuke. I make the same pledge. Hanabi declared. Naruto nodded in satisfaction while turning his back to them and returning to me. Sounds good. I'll hold you to that. He spoke in a chipper fashion again, wrapping arms around my waist. I embraced him, looking past him to see Sasuke and Hanabi exchanging conflicted gazes. I sighed and leaned against Naruto. I suppose there were more important things to worry about, especially given the danger we were in. Even if I wasn't thrilled about what just happened, I trusted Naruto. He always knows best. That night, Naruto-kun. Yes, Hinata-chan. I rested my head atop Naruto's chest. Like usual, we were curled up together on his bed, half our bodies laying under a large blanket. Do you really think it's okay for us to sleep separately from Sasuke and Hanabi? Especially since we can be attacked at any time. I pointed out. Naruto shrugged carelessly. Yay. It will be fine. Konoha isn't a threat to us. I frowned in confusion. But, I thought you said that Sasuke and Hanabi were only as strong as the Hokage. If Konoha attacks us one at a time, then won't they be vulnerable? I know I'm with you, so I'm okay, but I worry about Hanabi and Sasuke. Naruto adorned his bright, Naruto grin. Yay about that. I kind of lied. At this point, Sasuke and Hanabi are, way stronger than the Hokage. Any one of us could take the entire village. They don't know how strong they are because they haven't been in a real fight yet. We've all only fought each other in training. Because I have the knowledge of an ancient demon mentoring me, showing me his memories, I understand the scale of power in T's world. We are far above anyone that currently exists. Kyuubi even remembered the fight between Madara Uchiha and Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage. Sasuke is about as strong as Madara was then, and Hanabi is only slightly weaker than him. You are stronger than Sasuke and I'm stronger than all of you combined. So we're totally okay. I was shocked. What? Really? Naruto rubbed his nose confidently. Yep. I told you, the clone training technique is pretty much cheating. I'm pretty sure Sasuke could kick Itachi's with one arm tied behind his back. Don't tell him that though. Naruto said with a chuckle. I was still trying to process that information. Then why did you tell them? I just wanted them to focus on something else besides each other. If they thought they were in real danger and thought they'd be at risk of failing me, then their mind would be too occupied to think about each other. Especially those two. They are super predictable. I marveled at Naruto. I began to draw circles in his chest with one finger. Wow, Naruto-kun. You're really good at lying. I had no idea. Naruto raised a brow and tugged me completely on top of him so we were belly to belly. Of course, we both had on our nighttime pajamas. Still, I couldn't help blushing while being in this position. Don't worry, Hinata-chan. I'd never lie to you. When it comes to others, lying is often the most efficient and easiest way to deal with a situation. Hell, we have been trained as shinobi. Deception is what we do. I'll do a lot of that as I build my empire. But never to you. He spoke reassuringly. I began to poke my fingers together in thought. I wouldn't mind if you lied to me, Naruto-kun. It was rare to see Naruto so surprised. He raised both his eyebrows now. What? I looked at him with a loving smile. I trust you completely. All I want is to make you happy, make your life easy and comfortable. I can see situations where it would be easier or more convenient to lie to me. Especially if you are sure that the truth would upset me or make your life harder. Sometimes I can't control my emotions and I know how much it upsets you when I'm upset. I know how difficult I can be. If it will make your life easier, make you more happy, make you more comfortable, then you can lie to me anytime you want. I don't mind. As long as I'm with you, then I'll be happy. Quote. Naruto looked at me as if I had two heads. I can't do that to you, Hinata-chan. I don't want you to ever doubt my words. When I say that I love you, I want you to know with all your heart that I mean it. When I speak to you, I want to do so openly. Sometimes I might hurt you with my truth. In fact, I know I will, but that's a small price to pay. You are the only one who will know and understand the whole of me. You deserve it. He spoke sweetly to me. I nodded and snuggled closer to him, clinging tight. Thank you, Naruto-kun. If that's what is most important to you, then that's okay as well. Just know that if you ever did want to lie to me, then that would mean a lot to me too. It would mean that you felt comfortable enough lying to me because you trusted that even if I found out the truth, I would still accept, love and cherish you. That's how powerful my love and devotion is. Even if you lied to me sometimes, I'd just accept it as something you felt made your life easier or made you more happy. It would actually make me happy that you were happy. That's what's most important to me. So either way, it won't change how I feel about you. You are my everything. Naruto stared up at the ceiling quietly as I poured my heart out to him. Then he did something I couldn't predict. He started crying. He raised an arm to cover his eyes as tears trailed down his face. Did I say something wrong, Naruto-kun? Naruto shook his head. No, it's just, I'm so lucky to have found someone so perfect. My heart literally skipped a beat. I love you so much. Right now you could take more power in this relationship. Every day I give more and more of myself to you and still you never demand more. You never argue, never force your expectations on me. Even today, you supported me when I did something you clearly didn't like. Most people would say that you would have been well within your right to try and stop me, to scream at me, to oppose me, but you didn't. Your support for me was absolute. It's always unconditional. Hinata-chan, do you know how rare that is? He still couldn't look at me. His voice was shaky as he spoke. I couldn't help tears welling up in my eyes as well. I stayed quiet and just listened to him. What's so crazy is that you chose this life. You could live so many other lives. You have so many choices. I would support you in all of them. If you went off and married someone else, you and your family would be exempt from the harshness of my rule. It would break my heart, but I would support you. You would never have to work. I would provide you with everything you could ever want if you left. Even if it was just a request for me to leave you alone. Despite that, you stay. Even as I become more and more of a monster, your devotion and love never falters. Eventually I'll inspire devotion in others, but it won't be the same. I'll inspire devotion through fear and respect, through indoctrination and propaganda. No one will ever be devoted to me like you, or because you have a real choice not to be. That's what makes it so beautiful. I was a mess at this point, sniffling constantly. Naruto finally removed his arm from his face, his forearm soaked by his tears. Still, he didn't stop crying. He looked down on me with an expression I'll never forget. Pure, raw, unfiltered love. Hinata-chan, I appreciate you so much. I love you more than anything. I'll try my best not to hurt you and take advantage of your devotion too much. Though you'd probably forgive me right away even if I did. Naruto whispered in a light-hearted manner. I took his hand in both of mine and placed a long, lingering, worshipping kiss against the back of it. I'd forgive you without a second thought. No matter what, I know that you will always protect me. You will always take care of us. Even when you hurt me and those I care about, I will know that it's for the best. I live for you, Naruto-kun. I always will. Believe it. I didn't kiss him and he didn't kiss me. We didn't need to. This moment was magical. I would make sure to have this moment seared in my brain forever. This will be a memory I'll visit frequently. Whenever I think about doubting him, questioning him, arguing with him, I'll think of how happy my devotion made him. How happy being his perfect wife made me. This is who I am. My devotion will be legendary. They will write books and sing songs about it. Empress Hinata Uzumaki, his perfect, loving, devoted wife. Through thick and through thin, through evil and through good. When he is sweet and when he is cruel. No matter what, I'll always be happily at his side. Till death do us part. ChatGPT image July 3, 2026, 11_07_33am.png. 2355K view, scan and download.